My husband's ex-GF is dying. Her last wish is to be with my husband. I am not Oop. Oop is you, Intelligent Sand 4463 originally posted to R. True off my chest. My husband's ex-GF is dying. Her last wish is to be with my husband. Trigger warnings. Infidelity. Cancer. Spousal abandonment. Alcoholism. Emotional abuse and manipulation. Harassment. Less than. Original post. November 3, 2022. First of all, I apologize if this is badly written. English is not my first language, so please be kind. As the title goes, my 30F husband's ex-girlfriend, 33F, was recently diagnosed with late-stage breast cancer and her last wish is to be with my husband. 35M. My husband, let's call him Seb, and his ex Tanya became best friends after their breakup a couple of years ago due to her infidelity. They were together for 5 years. Needless to say, they remain in contact even before he met me. I would be lying if I say it never made me feel uncomfortable even once. It did, and it still does, because Tanya is still in love with my husband. She never denied it and in fact would even call or message me when she can't get a hold of Seb. Aside from cancer, she also has some mental health issues. Thus my husband would always tell me to be kind and patient. Seb is no longer in love with her, of course. She cheated and Seb swore that he will never get back to her and that he only sees her as family. 2 weeks ago, my husband received a call from Tanya to tell him about the sad news. My husband cried with her and told her everything is going to be okay. They were on the phone the whole day. I'm sorry. I forgot to mention that Seb and I moved to Australia a few months ago because of my job and Tanya is in Canada. They mostly talk via long-distance call or WhatsApp. They've been in contact almost every day since we left, which always bothers me, but what can I do? After that call, my husband told me everything. To be honest, I felt bad for her and I genuinely feel sad. I asked him what's going to happen now. Seb told me he's going back to Canada, which is a shock. He then told me that her last wish is to be with him. I didn't say anything except, "What about me?" Quote, he said if I can't leave my job, then he's going to visit me whenever he gets the chance. I walked out without saying anything. I've been avoiding my husband since the phone call and have been ignoring him whenever he tries to bring up the conversation. Yesterday, I found out he already bought a ticket and is flying back home in January. I feel like he's abandoning me, but at the same time I feel that I'm selfish for hating both of them. I'm honestly thinking of getting a divorce because obviously he's choosing her over me, but at the same time, I thought of why my husband is so attached to her. Seb considered Tanya and her family like his own as he doesn't have one. She's probably like a sister to him now, but Tanya doesn't feel the same. She's madly in love with my husband and him granting her wish will surely make her think they still have a chance. My entire life I've been putting others first. I've been very patient and understanding about their weird relationship. I feel sick, confused. I want to call her, yell at her for ruining my marriage, for trying to steal my husband from me, for using her sickness to get what she wants, for being a B. I'm so mad at both of them. What did I do to deserve this? Additional comment from Oop. Thank you all for your comments and messages. I didn't expect my post to get this much attention. All I wanted is to get this off my chest so I can focus on work and other things. I've been a mess, and being in another country with no one, only my husband, is making my situation worse. While some people think that Tanya might be lying about her condition, unfortunately, she's not. She was originally diagnosed a couple of years ago and has been on a treatment for it. Only recently she found out it progressed and is now refusing further treatment. Sorry I wasn't too clear about this. My husband said, She's giving up. In fact, she wanted to give up a long time ago, but her family, including my husband, wanted her to fight. He's going back to Canada to be her support as per her request. Seb did suggest that I go back home with him. But my job here in Australia is a dream come true for me, and I can't just abandon it. Especially not for her. I know that divorce is the wise decision here. My husband obviously can't let go of her, and we can't build a life together if he has a baggage. I love my husband so much to the point that I endure all of these through the years. Thinking of divorce makes me feel like I'm dying, and I don't know if I will ever be ready of letting him go. I haven't talked to my husband yet, but I think he already knows what's going to happen. I apologize for everyone who's asking for an update. As many have guessed, I am not a good communicator, which is why the situation got this bad. I am partially to blame for letting this happen to me. To us. I already contact a lawyer to know the next step. Again, thank you everyone for your comments and messages. It made me feel better. I feel horrible for wanting to stop a dying person's wish and for being mad with someone who's helpless, but you all are right. I should also think of myself. And NBSP. Update. February 10th, 2024. 15 months later. First of all, I apologize for those people who's been messaging me in the past year asking for an update. I was a mess after what happened and couldn't talk about it even to my family. I was reminded of this post because someone messaged me on this Reddit account today. It's been over a year and a lot has happened. I think I'm now ready to talk. Seb did end up flying back to Canada January last year. Before he flew, we talked about the situation and I told him I've been in contact with a divorce lawyer. He was surprised. He said he didn't expect me to leave him just because he needs to be with his family. I remember at the time all I felt was anger. I was so mad that he's making it sound like I'm the bad person. Nevertheless, the conversation didn't end well. He left without any closure, but he said he will be back in March. I was left alone. January to March last year was the darkest days of my life. I knew I did nothing wrong, but I ended up blaming myself for everything. I hate to admit, but I canceled the meeting with my lawyer as I started to doubt if I really want to leave him or not. I love him so much to the point that I'm willing to accept him again when he's back. During the entire time he was gone, he rarely called to check on me. I had to call him most of the time. I know, I'm dumb. I feel so alone and sad. I begged for his attention, to give me some of his time, to be with me again. All those time he kept telling me that Tanya needs him more. March I was expecting him to come back so we can talk. But he didn't come back. He said he needs to stay more and promised me he will be back in May. I don't know what happened to me when I got that call from him early March to tell me he won't be flying back to Australia. At the time, I felt like there's a switch that suddenly turned off because somehow I stopped caring. When he told me he won't be back until May, I knew I have to move forward without him. Fast forward to May. He was back. That day, we sat down to talk. He broke down and said, "I can't lose you too." When he said that, I thought Tanya was gone. But no, she's not, and as far as I know, she's still alive to this day. I asked what happened and he told me that Tanya asked him to go back and be with me. He said that Tanya is sorry for everything. Seb didn't want to leave her, especially when he saw how bad she was doing. They had a fight and according to him, Tanya wants him out of her life. If I was the same dumb person, I would totally accept him back, but at that time, all I can think was, he's only back because Tanya doesn't want him anymore. I let him cry. I comforted him and let him stay in my apartment. A week after, I told him I'm divorcing him. At first he refused to leave. It was a long and painful process, but on my birthday in July, he finally realized that he couldn't manipulate me anymore. By August, he was back in Canada. Divorce is not finalized yet, but we have been separated since he left. He tried to contact me several times last year. Tanya also tried to contact me. Everyone, including my family, tried to convince me to give him second chance. But that day in March, when I finally came back to my senses, I knew nothing can make me change my mind. As of now, I'm doing fine alone by myself. I got promoted last year and moved to a bigger apartment near the beach. I found new friends and recently getting into Pilates. I've traveled Australia and New Zealand and met some amazing people. I feel like a completely different person. Last year was the major turning point of my life. Seb still bothers me from time to time, but he knows I couldn't care less anymore. Sometimes I talk to him. I still care, but not as much. I've been told by our common friends that he's not doing well. He became alcoholic and couldn't get a good job because of it. He's mostly couchsurfing because Tanya doesn't want him to live with her. Lol. That bitch. Thank you so much, Reddit, for taking the time reading this and my post last year. Your advices means a lot to me. For those people who are in the same situation as me, please know that everything is going to be better. I thought I can't get through this. There are times I thought of taking my own life. It was hard, but I promise you, it will be better. You'd be surprised how strong you are and how amazing life can be. Relevant comments. Shkenut bread, what a wild red. I'm sorry that it took Tanya rejecting your ex to realize that he's losing you too. I remember reading your story and getting so mad for you. You deserve someone who prioritizes you and doesn't leave you hanging for months. I'm glad you're doing okay now. You are so strong. From a sincere Reddit stranger. I'm proud of you and how well you handled the situation. I'm wishing the best for you, Op. Congrats on the new life. And NBSP. Snoo Words 4839. Hugs. I am curious if Tanya was ever really dying. I am glad you are moving forward and living your best life. And NBSP. This is a repost sub. I am not oop. I can't get over that she said her husband and Tanya spoke nearly every day since they moved to Australia. But when he visited Tanya, he made no effort to talk to his wife. Actions speak. And I'm glad she divorced him. Jesus Christ. When he only came back when Tanya didn't want him anymore. Could he have been any more obvious about fact that OP was second choice? I can't figure out what happened with Tanya. Did she just want to see if she could make him jump? Why doesn't she want him anymore? Obviously Oop dodged a bullet here. But you can't just borrow someone else's husband and return him later like a tile saw. I have stage 4 ovarian cancer. It's terminal. I am still in treatment because it is currently holding the cancer at bay, but I know I will be lucky to live another year. I would never do what Tanya is doing. Ask to sleep with a married man and destroy a marriage. Intentionally hurt people. The nerve. My experience with people who have terminal cancer is that most of us actually become better people. Calmer. More compassionate. More empathetic. Tanya is an exception to the rule. And Seb is a narcissist. ETA. There are differing interpretations of Tanya wanting to be with Seb. I jumped to the conclusion of physical intimacy, but others have pointed out that it doesn't necessarily imply physical intimacy but simply spending time with Tanya. And that's a fair interpretation as well. And probably the correct one. God. Seb sucks. I'm glad Oop stayed strong and kicked him the hell out of her life. What a way to find out you are second best to the person who is supposed to be your one and only. Does anyone else think Seb is super pathetic in the first place to still want to be that close with someone who cheated on him? Like with no kids in the equation? I understand he loves her family. But he can remain cool with them without being buddy-buddy with the person who betrayed him. That's a red flag on its own. It sounds like he was just waiting in the wings until he thought she changed her cheating ways. Then he chose her over his own wife. It'd be one thing if they took a trip together to say their goodbyes. But he stayed for months without his wife. I know Tanya is sick, but there's no way nothing happened. Good on Op for filing for divorce. I'd have filed as soon as he was planning on leaving. If this story is real, the fact that Seb thought he could travel for nearly half a year to bang his side chick and then come back like he was welcome is absurd. Get a grip, man. Funny how if he did the bare minimum, like been a present partner, even if he did get to stay there, in a family house, for at most a month, and reassure her of his relationship while there, everything would been good. A long time ago, there was a post where it turned out the ex and the husband were lying to the wife in a similar situation. The ex-wife did have cancer, but it was caught early. Her remarried ex nonetheless dropped his entire life to move in with her and take care of her, telling his current wife that she was late stages and needed him in her last days. The wife visited them at the ex's place, of course, but he told her not to mention EXW's terminal diagnosis because she's very sensitive. Edit. It's slightly different than I remembered. I think there's a BORU, but I haven't found it. https www.reddit.com/r/relationships/comments/3i958y/my26fiances 28 mexwife 28 https www.reddit.com/r/relationships/comments/3i958y/my26fiances 28 mexwife 28 Was Seb just jobless in Australia? Tanya definitely has a thing for taken men, which is why she is so in love with Dirtbag. Now that she realized they are getting a divorce, she lost interest. This reminds me of familiarity breeds contempt. Tanya is wild for Seb because she can't have him. But when he leaves his wife so readily, she realizes why she cheated on him in the first place. So she throws him back. I am glad Op moved on. What an incredibly selfish little man. I don't know how she didn't hand him divorce papers on his way to Canada. During the entire time he was gone, he rarely called to check on me. I had to call him most of the time. I know, I'm dumb. I feel so alone and sad. I begged for his attention, to give me some of his time, to be with me again. All those time he kept telling me that Tanya needs him more. I can't fathom how profoundly cruel you would need to be to not even spare a bit of time for you spouse when you left on a long-term trip against their wishes. To be with, I'm honestly assuming, his mistress, and then expect a second chance at the end of that 5 months of neglect. Casual cruelty and infidelity, emotional, or more. I hope the OOP can smoothly get through the divorce and live her best life. I would have answered Tanya's call and told her, I'm really glad your dying wish was to make sure you ruined my marriage. On your way out you really wanted me to have to go through a rough and dark time where I questioned my marriage, my husband, and myself. I really appreciate that. Soon you'll be gone and you won't be able to cause me so much pain anymore. Thanks and good luck with whatever happens after your passing. Don't contact me again. Totally boning Tanya till she finally ultimatumed him with, it's her or me, and here we are. I don't think Tanya ever had cancer. This was all plotted by Seb and her. I'm so glad that Op realized her worth and grew a backbone. This guy was clearly never over his ex. He broke up out of principle after being cheated on. But then, they became best friends? What? Who'd do that? Oop was always the second choice. Only there to keep him warm while he was emotionally connected to the ex, who was very aware of the power in her hands and got a kick out of it. By the way, both were POS who toyed with Oop and deserved what they got. I'm so glad I only saw this story now, after Oop is living her best life away from them. Apropos of nothing. I am always amused and impressed when people ask for grace because they aren't native speakers of English, then proceed to write a dissertation with far better grasp of the language than most. Meanwhile, I've been studying Italian for a year and can only order coffee or ask directions to the pharmacy.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Heracast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.